He was one of the most talented and hardest hitting linebackers to ever play north of the border. Ben Zambiasi, Hall of Famer, Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Our guest today hails from Valdosta, Georgia, now calls Hamilton home. He was a standout linebacker at the University of Georgia, a record setting All American. He was drafted by the Chicago Bears, spent 11 seasons in the CFL with Hamilton and Toronto, an 8-time All Star, CFL's Defensive Player of the Year. He led the Ticats to the 1986 Grey Cup title. He is a member of the University of Georgia Hall of Fame and a member of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program, Ben Zambiasi. Ben, great to have you here, my friend.
Thanks, Joe Tilley. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we first of all, I shout out to Amy G and Tommy Gunn, and mutual friends of ours who helped hook us up. And I know they're big fans of yours. Yours, great people. Tell us about your association with Amy and Tommy.
Well, it's actually it's a new relationship. Just a couple of months ago, I met Tommy and Amy at a art show in Toronto that my girlfriend and I went out to view, and they started. Amy and Allison started up a conversation, and she introduced Tommy Gunn to Allison, and at that time, Tommy said to her, "I think that's Ben Zambiasi over there." And Allison says, "Do you want to meet him?" And Tommy goes, "You know him?" He goes, "Sure, he's my boyfriend. Come on over." And so that's how we met, and we've gotten together a couple times since that our first initial meeting, and it's been yeah quite the good times.
Yeah, Tommy, great musician from a musical family. His cousin is Rod Stewart. His dad, Sonny, played in a number of Canadian legendary rock bands. And
Right.
Tommy's got a new album out called California Way, so don't miss that. I've listened to a couple of tunes. Now that I'm back in Canada, it's going to be a little easier for me to download that. So let's talk about your story now. Like born and raised in Valdosta and Macon, Georgia, but a lot of traveling involved in your family. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I'm a military. I'm the oldest of five siblings. My parents got married in 1955. I was the first of five, born in 1956, September in Valdosta, Georgia, at an Air Force base uh, down in Valdosta called Moody Air Force Base. My father was a military man. He went to the University of Detroit, where he played football, and he also was in the ROTC program. So when he graduated from Detroit, he always wanted to be a pilot, and they sent him to pilot school. Uh, and he had an obligation to serve 4 or 5 years in the military. He made a career out of it. And his first tour of duty, him and mom got married, and they drove down from Michigan. Both my parents are from Michigan, and they drove down to Valdosta, and I was born in a trailer park right outside Moody Air Force Base.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
and then from there, we traveled. Before I was 9 years old, I had lived in six different locations: Alabama, California, had a sister born there; Texas, had a sister born there; Colorado Springs, Colorado, had a brother born there; Wiesbaden, Germany, in Europe, had a brother born there. And then we stayed a year in Michigan when my dad did a year in Vietnam. And then from there back south to where my home state of Georgia, Warner Robins, Georgia, at where we were at Warner Robins Air Force Base, just south of Macon, where I went to a Catholic high school, Mount DeSales.
Right.
And then from
Like
Mount
school.
DeSales, yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty wild. Then Mount DeSales, 2 years there. Well, actually, we got there when I was in grade 6. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm in Warner Robins, initiating. It's the Bible Belt of football. Was gotten football. We had 2 state championships my freshman and sophomore year at Mountain Sales, and then my dad got transferred back to Germany, and the whole family moved back to Germany. My junior year, uh, played football there, but they don't send recruits or scouts there from
No.
the college rank every weekend.
So,
So I talked my parents into letting me go back to the high school, and I lived with the coach that was at in Macon, Georgia. And then we went back my senior year. We won a state championship, undefeated state champs, and I was given an opportunity to actually had a couple choice of what schools I wanted to go to, and chose Georgia, and that's been my history of football. Then 4 years at Georgia, and then like you said on the pre-show there, drafted by the Bears, and then up to Canada after a cup of coffee with Chicago, and up here, and I was just using it as a stepping stone to go back to the States. I did get a chance to go back and play with the Bengals with Forrest Gregg, but I decided to stay in Canada.
yeah, you touched on it there about, your dad being a football player, and you're from the Bible Belt of football down there in Georgia. Were you always going to be a football player? Was that your goal, was to be a football player?
Well, you know what? It was a sport, and a lot of testosterone. So you have to. If I'd have been born in Canada, I'd been a hockey player, right? So I would have been brought up on skates instead of with the pigskin. So that was, and I got my first taste of football in Germany as our first time in Germany in grade 3 and 4. Got to play in a little minor division football, and then didn't play football for a couple more years, like 5, and then in grade 6 I got back into football when my dad got transferred to down to Georgia. So grade 6, 7, and 8, and then to high school, and that's where the real formative years of football was took place for me. It was surrounded by a couple of really good coaches, Mike Garvin, Billy Henderson, and it was quite the experience. And back then, it was 8 millimeter film, and it
Uh-huh.
was the Miami Dolphins were doing really well, and Coca Cola was putting out these films. I remember, like, I'll never forget. Used to watch all these films on how to take a handoff, how to throw the football, how to kick a football, how to catch a football, how to proper tackle, all the techniques, all sponsored by Coca Cola. And it was Don Shula as the coach doing these training tapes with his players on the Miami Dolphins, like Jim Kick, Larry Zonka,
Sure.
Nick Bonica. So it was quite the experience. two a
Yeah,
day
all the
practices. I've never done two
yeah,
a day practices ever. So yeah, it was quite the experience.
yeah, all the greats from that great 72 team that went undefeated. So, you, ho were you guided to the position of linebacker by coaches, or was that a position that you wanted to play?
Well, no, it was a I play in high school. I played both ways. I played running back, and I was a fullback, and I was a linebacker. My freshman year in high school, I was a linebacker. My sophomore year in high school, I was a running back. We two platooned. I didn't go both
Mm,
ways. But what we did do on our football team, would, which was really smart, was if I was a, if you were started on if you were a starter on the defense, you were a backup on the offense. And so a lot of times during the course of a game, we we would be winning. We would swap roles. The first team offense would go on defense, and the first team defense would go on offense. And so I got a lot of experience there. I was actually recruited as a running back to Georgia Tech by a guy named Jerry Glanville.
mhm.
They ran the Wishbone at the time, and he was a coach at Georgia Tech, and he recruited me really heavily. And I almost went to Georgia Tech as a running back. And it's ironic because at Georgia, I was I was being tried out as a running back, and I sprained my ankle. First injury I
Right.
ever had that kept me out of practice and games. And so during that time of recovery, like about 4 or 5 linebackers on the varsity had gotten injured for the year. And so when I came back off my injury, off my ankle injury, I never played offense again. I just stayed strictly defense. And that was the wishes of Irk Russell, a famous coach that was well renowned and well known in Georgia, and then went on to Georgia Southern and started a football program that Tracy Ham came out of, actually.
Oh, really? Hey, Tracy Ham. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Tracy
Another
Ham.
CFL
In
great.
fact, Irk was such a motivator and such a great leader as a coach and a great recruiter. He uh, he actually named the wishbone. Their offense was called the Ham Bone.
The ham bone. Okay.
Tracy
For
Ham,
ham.
right?
Yeah, yeah, right.
And they won national championships. He won national championships with Tracy as the quarterback down there at Georgia Southern. And Irk was also very instrumental in our program, where we came up with the Junkyard Dogs my sophomore year. Remember that bad Leroy Brown song,
Yeah, yeah,
Meaner
yeah,
Than a
yeah.
Junkyard Dog? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
to the chagrin of Vince Dooley, but it
Yeah.
it was quite the catchy thing, and it caught on, and we had quite a success with that moniker, the Junkyard Dogs, for a couple of years. I actually played against Dorset a couple of times. My sophomore and junior year, we played against Pittsburgh in the Sugar Bowl.
Mm.
My junior year for the national championship, and of course we didn't win that game, but it was good to compete there in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl. Quite the experience.
Well, let's talk about your career at Georgia. You led the Bulldogs with 467 career tackles. That is a record that still stands today, including
Yes.
173 tackles in 1977. Now, that's during an 11-game season. Those are pretty impressive numbers.
Well, back then everybody ran the ball. They don't run the ball very often now, right? It's
Right.
like a 50-50 balance. Um, yeah, it was quite the time that I was at Georgia. And if you're any good now, you don't stay in university very long. And if you're disgruntled, you can transfer out. Uh,
Right.
and if you're good, you get drafted. You present yourself, to be
Yeah.
drafted, so you don't stay around in the college ranks anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I'm thinking about reparations, because these guys are getting paid now in college.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they are for sure.
They
That's a good.
some of them
It's
probably have
about
to
it's
take a
about
pay
time,
cut to go to
really.
the pros.
Yeah, yeah. So, what your
Yeah,
you know?
it's a record I don't think will ever get broken,
No,
Joe. I
no,
think
it's
that
yeah,
record's
it's
going to stand forever, unless someone
yeah,
stays around there for 4 years, and and I did basically that amount in 3 years, because I wasn't a starter my freshman year. I think I had 9 or 10 or 11 tackles. I was on special teams, but most of those were the last 3 years of my time there at Georgia.
yeah, pretty awesome. What was
I was
your
surrounded by a
career
lot of good
career
guys,
highlight?
though. The defense was kind of structured
Right,
that I would be free. So I had a lot of unselfish guys playing in front of me and beside me, and it was a real treat, and it was a great inspiration to play for the kind of coach we had in Irk Russell. The guy
right.
would he'd get in the circle butt before a game and do headbutts with no helmet on, and then when he would bleed, he'd come give you a little bit on your jersey
Yeah,
to get you motivated.
scare the other teams.
He was
These guys are
Yeah.
nuts. They were. I want to talk about you. What was your favorite highlight that you remember from your college career?
Oh, well, for football or just
Yeah.
college, are the
Well,
best
whatever.
4
Yeah,
years
yeah.
of my football career. I would say that
College.
upsetting. I would say that my sophomore year, uh, my first interception that stands out. I also remember my very first time on the football field, my freshman year, um, running out on the field and playing a series of downs and hyperventilating. Like I was
Yeah.
so jacked up and pumped up that going out in front of like 70,000 fans, and that was pretty exhilarating. Let's see, a few other highlights would be going to the bowl games. Um, now, it wasn't that wasn't that was quite. We went to three bowls in my 4 years there. Went to the toilet bowl my senior year. We didn't have a very good
Yeah.
football team, but that's probably why I have so many tackles, because we led the nation in turnovers that year.
Uh-huh. The defense is on the field a long time.
Quite a bit, quite a bit,
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was good, and the guys and the relationships that you develop while you're there, the friends you make, and the people you know and you get to know, they're in my life still today. So it was, and it yeah, it's just it was quite the experience. College, I recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, it was well, yeah, sure looked like a great, well, everything I've seen about college football, there's so much, there's so much, juice around it, like, it just feels so good. You can
It's so
feel the
much bigger
vibe,
now than
the
it was when
band's
I played.
playing and, it's just so cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the bands are magnificent. Yeah,
yeah,
that's yeah, it really is
yeah,
quite the thing to run out. And now it's 100,000 state stadium or
right.
97,000 Sanford Stadium. Ours I think was 65 or 70,000, something like that. So
Yeah.
it was and the price of ticket, like scalping tickets, that was another highlight. If you because players got tickets if you were a player, and if you were
Right.
playing like a team from Alabama, to get $200 per ticket, you get 800 bucks as a kid
Wow!
back then.
A lot of
That was
money
a lot
back
of
then,
coin,
yeah.
right? Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. You're gonna lose your college eligibility now, man, by disclosing that, you know that, eh? So,
Those inmates, they're
yeah,
running the
uh,
they're running the asylum now. It's crazy. Those
yeah,
those
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Back in if you were disgruntled and you wanted to leave,
Too
you
bad.
had to sit out a year. You had to go to
Yeah,
whatever university you went to. You had to sit out a year.
yeah,
You
yeah,
weren't eligible to play. Now you can transfer and play the same season.
right. Forego your last college year, your last 2 college years if you want to. So,
It's
uh, you get drafted by the Bears out of college, but you end up in Hamilton. What made you decide to come to Canada instead?
okay. Interesting. That's a good question. We have every team has what's called a negotiation. Every Canadian Football League team
Mhm.
has what's called a negotiation list. They have 20 players on the list. This is how I understood it back when I was playing in
Right.
'78. All the 9 teams each had a list of 20 players. No team could have the same player on the list. So there's 180 players, basically different players amongst the nine
Mhm.
teams. On the Hamilton Ticats list, I was on that list.
Mhm.
Someone had seen me or recruited me or seen me play or something and told the general manager, Ralph Sazio, put this guy on the list, which basically is a little bit of a handicap. It's good and it's bad. It was good that they wanted me to come up
Yeah.
and that I had a team to come to, right? I was on a list, but I couldn't negotiate with anybody else. You can only negotiate with that team of the list you're on. So when I got cut, I was told by the player personnel guy at Chicago, Hamilton had my rights,
Uh-huh.
and so there's and when you get cut from the NFL, there's a 48-hour waiver list, a waiver that
Yeah.
the other 28 teams has an option to pick your contract up, and if those 48 hours elapse without you being picked up by another team, you are now a free agent. And so I was a free agent after 48 hours. Now, when I got cut that day, I remember getting cut and then getting contacted by um, or given a phone number to call Hamilton. And so I did give them a call, and they said, we wanted you to come up right away. They were going to fly me up right away. And I said, am I going to, they were playing a game in a couple,
Yeah.
3 days. And I said, I'm going to play in the game. And they laughed and they said, no, no. And I said, well, I'm not going to fly up then. I'm not going to fly up right now. And I said, and I had just bought a car. I had a new vehicle. And I said,
Yeah.
where am I going to do with my vehicle? And they said, just put it in short-term parking. I said, are you going to pay that bill? Are you going to pay it at the end? Are you going to fly me back? What's the
Right.
scoop?
Right.
I decided to drive up. So I took a couple of days and I drove up from Chicago and arrived the day after the Cats had played that game.
Right.
They were just finishing the day after, where you come in after the game, the day after a game. They do a shakedown, watch film, and then leave. I literally was pulling in the parking lot at Iverwin Stadium, and guys were leaving
Right.
from that practice. So I went in and introduced myself. They asked me to do a workout for them. So I went out with a guy. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Joe. He was the defensive coordinator. I can picture him. I just can't think of his name right now. And did a workout, and then I went in and negotiated a contract, which was quite the experience. That was a funny
So
story too.
with Ralph, right?
No, it wasn't with Ralph. It was with Bob Shaw. Ralph ended up having to come in to the
Okay.
negotiation, but I got in a screaming match with a guy named Bob Shaw.
Yeah.
Um, he basically told me to f off, and I told him to f off, and then literally, and it was horrendous. And I just asked him to give me my per diem and my check, my
And I'm
travel
out of
money
here.
and travel,
Yeah.
and I get the hell out of here. And I'm gonna go home. And then about 15 minutes later, Ralph Sazio came in, and then because I was sitting outside the office, and when I went back in, I was asked to come back in, and about 15 minutes later, I was asked to come back in to the room, and Bob Shaw was in the corner like a bad boy. He was sitting down and didn't say. And Ralph was now behind the desk that Bob had been behind.
Right. Right.
And so Ralph and I hammered out a contract. It was a little bit better than what Bob had offered me, and
Uh-huh.
so and then, but I didn't know all the ins and outs, right? Like I didn't know
Right.
that when you signed, I just signed a 1 year contract. I didn't know attached to that 1 year contract was a option year, and I didn't know that you had to play for 10% less than the year of the contract that you were signing at the moment to play
Wow.
out your option. Yeah, I know it was
Yeah,
pretty
it's
one
kind of weird.
sided.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Usually you play out, you pay for 10% more or something, right? To play your
Uh-huh.
option out, but not 10% less. So
Yeah.
that's kind of kept me, and and I came in after, this was back when they had 4 preseason and 16 regular season. So they had just finished playing their 4 and their first 6 games of the year. And I came in with a new coach. They had fired the coach about a week before I got there,
Yeah.
that started the year. And the new coach was a guy named John Payne. And Payne had only been there coaching for 1 or 2 weeks. And then myself came in, myself and a guy named Zach Henderson. We kind of came in at the same time together. I don't know if you
Yep.
remember that guy.
I remember
Yeah,
the names. Yep.
Zach.
Yep.
He was from Oklahoma. And so we stayed in the high end hotel there, City Motor Hotel.
Nothing but the best.
Nothing but the best, right?
So,
And
but you
we
know what?
had new
It worked
ownership.
out
We had
okay. Okay. What were you saying?
what's that?
Well, we finish that thought.
What's
Finish
that?
that thought. I was just saying, finish that thought. Finish that thought. The owner.
Yeah, and we also had new ownership at the time too. I was found out later that Harold Ballard had bought the team, only because they refused to let him own the Toronto Argonauts. So
Uh-huh.
he bought the Nemes, right? He bought
Right.
the Ticats, right?
Yes.
They
He
wouldn't
loved
let
to
him
stick it
own.
to
They
Toronto.
wouldn't let him
Yeah.
own the Leafs and the Argos in the same
Yeah.
city.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
he he and I
I'm
became
sure there's a lot of
he
Leaf
and I
fans
became
who had
really
to
good.
wish it
We
was the
became
other
really
way
good
around.
friends, Harold.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm sure there's a lot of Leaf fans who at the time wished it was the other way around, that he only had the Ticats and not the Leafs, but
What?
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, let's you get signed by the Ticats and bang, you come flying out of the gate. What a debut! You're a finalist for the CFL's Rookie of the Year award. I mean,
Yeah,
things started out very well and continued to get better and better and better. Like what and also, of course, there was the name change because back home in Georgia, you were
yeah.
Ben Zambiasi, you were Ben Zambezi,
Ben
and
Zambezi.
tell
That's
us
right.
about the name change. It makes sense, though. I mean, you're going to a team like Hamilton, where there's a pretty high Italian
Well,
population, and you know,
yeah. You see, and I'm wearing number 47 there, right?
rookie year, rookie year, yeah.
Yeah, my rookie year. And the reason I changed that dang number was because they had me at a position on punt cover at the end position, and and every time I would go out for a punt cover, they'd have to put a another jersey over me because 47 is an ineligible number to uh, to catch a pass.
Right,
So they put an eligible number, but because it was the Ticats, trying to get in that eligible number took like four guys, and our offense wasn't on the field very long. So it was like two plays and bang, I'd have to put on this jersey to go out for punt cover, and it was like a contortion to get this
right,
damn thing on. It wasn't Velcro. It wasn't. It was some really inexpensive tight jersey, and
yeah,
that was the next year I came in. I said, change my number, give me an eligible number. First of all, I said, am I going to be on the punt cover team? Oh yeah, you're going to be on punt cover team. Am I going to be at the end position? Yeah, you're going to be at the end position. I said, then give me an eligible number. I don't care what number it is. I'm not going to do that yoga. I'm not going to do that contortionist move to get in a jersey every time we have to punt the ball. So that's when my number changed. Now the name, going back to the name, I found out that when my grandparents came over, my grandfather, his name was Zambezi, and it was Baisi. Well,
oh,
somehow
okay.
on the landed on the
Landed immigrants
landing
for work.
certificate,
Yeah, yeah.
it got changed to IASI.
Uh-huh.
So the pronunciation was Zambezi at the one time, and then it got IA, and it just stayed Zambezi. And so to make it easy, it went Zambezi
Right.
for whatever reason. And so I was brought up as a Zambezi. And then when I came up here, I after my first year, I was fortunate enough to meet a legal counsel for the Players Association and a lawyer in town named John Agro. And John Agro and I became friends. And he said he wanted to represent me. And I said, that would be wonderful. And he said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the right pronunciation of your name changed. We're going to get, he says, and you let me take care of that. And so that's how that happened. And it went from Zambezi my first year to Zambiasi to this day.
Right.
Except when I go down south, and then I get kibitzed about Zambezi all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they can't let that go. So, I know they messed a lot of names up down south, though. They look what they did to Brett Favre, right? It's Favre, Favre,
Bavra. Oh yeah.
Favre, right? So, but here you go, and you're doing great in the Hammer, and then in 1979, you're the outstanding defensive player in the CFL. Uh, you made some huge hits during that season. I think this is when we got one where we put a pretty good lick on a guy named J.C. Watts. Vic, you
Oh
find
yeah.
that video for us?
Sure.
Here we go. Here we go. J.C. Watts, who went on to be a pretty good guy after his career was over. Right? He's in politics now, right? J.C. Isn't he a governor or
He
something
did.
like that? Yeah,
He did
yeah,
down in Texas, is it, or Oklahoma? One of those
yeah,
two
yeah.
places.
Somewhere Oklahoma, I think. Yeah, but there, look at that. Boom, nowhere to go, and here comes Zambiasi. Uh, was that one of your most memorable hits? You remember that one?
Uh, that was a good one. There was I think one of my there was one against Larry Key one time in BC in '81. I had just come off a hamstring injury, and Cush was our coach. I don't, and that was a good hit for me. I remember that hit. Um, and Ferragamo had a good lick on Ferragamo
Vince.
in the end zone. But that one there, I think that was in the I think that was a Grey Cup Eastern Final game.
Oh, okay.
That one there was in the '86 two-game total point game. So
Okay.
somehow
So yeah. All right. Well,
that was the second game of a two-game total points.
right. Well, that would have
That
been so. So that was the game. That was the series where you guys got blown away in the first game, and then came back and
well,
beat them badly in the second game. I think at one point, you guys were down 21 points or something like that,
I think
and
we
you
were
came
down
back 27. Yeah, yeah,
7 points. I think we were down 27, 28, 29 points, and we
yeah.
came back with three quarters and won that game by a field goal. I think to
Right,
go
right.
go to the cup. Yeah, that was
Oh yes,
that was
I.
that was
Re-
that was the best part of that season. I know the Grey Cup was a great win, but it didn't matter who
yeah,
we were going to play that game. We were going to kill them after coming back from the Argos,
yeah,
being down. And here was a beautiful thing about that game, by the way. And I always say this: you win the Grey Cup with the best Canadians on the football field. And what happened in the second game of the Argo two-game total points is we lost three players before the game. We lost um, we lose John Malinowski in pregame warmup. Remember that field in Toronto? It was a baseball field as well.
yeah.
He
Exhibition
stepped in
Stadium.
one of those. Yeah, he stepped in one of those things that they put a cover over to cover up one of the areas of the baseball field,
Yeah,
like an insert. He twisted his knee. He goes down. The next opening kickoff, so we lose an American starter, all star, by the way. The next time opening kickoff of that second game, we lose Les Brown on the opening kickoff.
oh
He's
boy.
returning a kickoff. We lose Les Brown, replaced by a Canadian.
Wow.
We lose Walter Bender somewhere in the second half, replaced by a Canadian. I'm trying to think of the running back, but we had the best backups. We won because we had the best Canadian talent,
Right.
and it was just an amazing comeback, especially after they went up by like they scored. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown, an interception for a touchdown. They did some crazy things. The next thing you know, they're up by 29 points.
Yeah.
Like the game started with 17-0 or something on the scoreboard,
Right.
right?
That was a crazy kind of situation, that 2 game total point. But I liked it. I liked it. It was a way for them to get the right number of games in the East, right? So it was how it worked out. But you before I want to go back just a bit and talk about your that year when you won the outstanding defensive player award. You were an all-star right from the get-go. What was it about the Canadian game that suited your abilities? Here's you receiving that defensive player of the award of the year award.
well,
What was that like for you?
yeah, look at it. It's a red carpet up there. It's like the Academy Awards. Shenley was
Yeah.
a phenomenal sponsor. Missed them as sponsors
Uh-huh.
today. That just it's just like I think I came in at the height of CFL football in Canada. Um, I've been saying this for years. I like it's the there's been less and less attendance. Now I know,
Hmm.
and I think it's just because they keep taking Canadian jobs away. You want to make the Canadian Football League great again, then you got to put more Canadians on the football field. Those are the people. It's Canadians that are going to the football game. It's not Americans. Americans aren't flying up and going to the games up here. It's Canadians. And what makes the game so great is Canadians and the Canadian content. And back then, you had more Canadians on the field starting than you have today. These owners they got something. They just think that if they're going to put, they think they're if you put if you put American talent, you're going to get a better product. That's
Mm.
not true. That's not true. And you got to, and if you want to grow the Canadian Football League, you've got to start in this country giving scholarships, full ride, 100% scholarships to high school students to go to university up here in Canada.
Hmm.
That's what you have to do. And it'll grow. It'll grow organically the way you want it to grow.
Right.
You got to stop looking for all these guys with deep pockets. Dave Brayley owned 3 football teams at one time
Right.
up here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
you just, and Nelson, like these guys all think that you can buy yourself a Grey Cup. You're not going to buy a Grey Cup. Scalbania tried to bring in Ferragamo, David Overstreet, Fred Biliknikoff,
Yeah.
Tom Cousineau's. They're good. That's good talent, but it's not what wins championships.
No, you can't
Unfortunately,
win in the
it's
CFL
it's
without
what
top
they did in
Canadian talent.
Montreal this
Yeah.
year. That's what wins
Yeah.
championships.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. You have to have
that's
that.
what you have to get. And if you do that, you'll be amazed. Canadians support Canadians. That's
Yeah.
the bottom line. And you'd have, if you did that, if you started giving these kids in high school scholarships, you'd have 12 teams in this league before you could blink an eye. Now it's going to take a few years, but you would start growing it the way it should be grown. You get a team out east rather. You get probably a couple teams in Toronto. You get another team out west somewhere. But they're just, I don't know. They got something stuck in their craw, and it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, although for sure there'd be another room for another team in BC. You could have for sure two in the Southern Ontario area. East Coast has always
Look at all the
been ready
great
for
talent
for a
going
team.
down to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent. The reason they don't go to school up here is because they get a full scholarship down in the
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
That kind of talent
Yeah.
going, it's leaving. It's leaving Canada. It's not
Right.
staying in Canada.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think you might have a point there. I think that's a good point. But we saw a video of you collecting your reward, but I want to place back some of the acceptance speech from that night. Can we roll that?
To all these selectors, thanks for making my dream come true. To the donors, I offer the wish that Shenley be on every drinking person's tongue. To my mother and father, may the good Lord always walk between them and darkness. For my country of choice, Canada, thanks for the opportunity. And finally, congratulations to John Hilton, a great competitor and a great man. Thank you.
Yeah. Great speech. What do you think when you see that kid?
Uh, wow, memories. That was yeah, that was something. Short and sweet, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Stand up tall so they can hear you. Speak loud
Yeah.
so they can hear you. Stand up tall so they
Yeah.
can see you. And keep it short so they love you.
Right. 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 I think that's the words you got from your dad, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, what was it about the Canadian game that suited you? And you talk about you're Canadian by choice, and not only did you suit the Canadian game and the game suited you, but you also made a decision, a conscious decision to stay here. Tell us about those two pieces.
Well, being an independent of my dad, traveling all over the world, I was used to traveling. I had, I didn't have any roots yet. Like we were like a vagabond, like yourself right now, right? Traveling,
Right.
traveling here, there, and so it was really easy to go somewhere with the kind of response that I got when coming to Hamilton, and it was especially easy because it was a large Italian community, and they really took to me. Um, and the Tie Cat, the Tie Cats traditionally were known for defense. Um, all the great teams in the past, the Angelo Moscas, uh, Garney, those teams, they were all built on tough defense. So I kind of resonated. I couldn't have come at a better time, and I couldn't have come to a better place. I went from an all-time low in my lifetime. I'm not going to lie about this. It was I went. The Chicago Bears was the first football team I ever got cut from, and Buddy Ryan was the defensive coordinator, and he cut me, and I've never been that low. I'd never been cut from a football team before, so I went from an all-time low, and within 1 week, or literally 1 week, maybe 10 days, to an all-time high, and it just kept getting better and better and better. John Agro encouraged me to stay up. I still had some school left. So after my 78 season and 79 season, I would return back to Georgia. And Dooley was a man of his word. I asked, I said, if for some reason, if I get to go pro and I haven't finished my degree, will you pay for my education so I can complete and get my 4-year degree, which he did. And so I would go back
Wow.
after the 78 season and after the 79 season, and I finished my 4-year degree at Georgia. I didn't have a lot to get because I can only go back for winter quarter and part of spring quarter. I had like 3/4 of school remaining. So I did that after 78, 79, and then I had my diploma. And so I came up in 1980. I applied with my lawyer's advice and guidance. He suggested after after the 1980 season, he said, become landed. We're going to apply for landed immigrant status, and you can stay up here now. You don't have to go back to school. Stay up here, become part of the community, part of Hamilton, and which I did. And I don't look back and I don't have any regrets. I was looking for I was looking for a home and making a name, and that happened for me here in Hamilton. And I just I send a lot of love to John Agro, uh, God rest his soul, and his family really took me in under their wing, and it was it was it was it was quite easy. And Hamilton was it was the Pittsburgh it was the
Yeah.
Pittsburgh of Canada, and with like the steel curtain. So and we were building, we were improving every year. We went to the Grey Cup in 1980. Got
Right.
blown out by Edmonton, but again, you look at those teams, those 5 years. My first 5 years in the league up here, it was Edmonton Eskimos.
Right.
Five Grey Cups
Yeah.
in a row.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no others. And I was part of. And even though we competed against them, that was the most amazing thing. And I learned then that what those teams were filled with was the best Canadians. They used to
Right.
play American short. They had such good Canadian talent. So that's how they had the recipe for success, and that recipe hasn't changed. And it's just Hamilton's just been so spectacular for me, and it's just an ideal location. They call it, we're right in the Golden Horseshoe.
Yeah.
1 hour drive, I could be in the States, down in Niagara Falls, Buffalo, New York. I go the other direction, I go get an international flight anywhere in the world out of Toronto. It's just been it's Hamilton has been a sleepy hollow. Like, it has just been a fantastic place. Now it's changed quite a bit in the last 3, 4, 5 years. It's gotten found out.
Right.
So there, and that's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's, they call it progress. We'll see how things work out here in the next little while. But Hamilton's been just fantastic.
Yeah, when you got a good
And I
thing,
just
you can't keep
and
it
I
a
love
secret forever.
and we live actually in a microclimate, tucked next to the escarpment. It's like this. It's
Hmm.
just been fabulous.
Yeah, well, you talked about the Eskimos dynasty, and running into a kid named Warren Moon who was a pretty good football player on the Edmonton side, 48-10 in this particular Grey Cup. That was the third of five straight Cup wins, as you mentioned, by Edmonton. Was Moon unstoppable? Was he unstoppable?
The whole system, his whole system was like, yeah, he was quite. He could take. He was a stud. He was. There's no question. Warren Moon. He could stand in the pocket. He could scramble. Um, but he was surrounded by some really special personnel, and and some great coaching and like offensive line. They really had a great system there. Very confident. And what was really phenomenal is their defense was something really good
Hmm.
too. Like, if they
Yeah,
weren't, if someone would shut, if they got shut down offensively, defense was always like right there. So, and you look at their coaching staff, all the coaching staff that they had, they went on to be head coaches, coordinators with other teams after they kind of broke up after the five
sure.
years. The coaches left and went to took other jobs
Matthews,
like
yeah, Don Matthews, of
Matthew,
course, Huey Campbell went to the NFL, and yeah, yeah.
Don
So
Southern, right?
yeah,
There's just a whole slew of guys, right?
yeah,
They really had some magic happening there at the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, their
That and that's
linebacker
they'll
Danny
never
Templey
I
wasn't too bad either, eh?
they'll never be a team any pro. There'll never be
Yeah,
another pro team. I can almost guarantee that'll never happen. So
yeah,
no one will ever dominate like they did in any sports league
no,
whatsoever.
never happened before, never happened since. So
No,
okay, a couple of years later, you managed to get the big game 3 years in a row, lost to Winnipeg 47-17. 85 lost to BC in a closer game 37-24. But then in 86, we talked about, you coming back from that game against the Argos, and there you are with your coach Al Bruno after coming back in that incredible, Eastern final, and roaring back to win the series 59-56. You said 3 points, you were right on. You and Al pretty happy about that comeback. And then, of course, the
yeah,
rematch with Edmonton in the '86 Grey Cup game. And this time you guys dominated on defense. Uh, and Hamilton won it handily by a score of 39-15. You just never gave him a chance to get off the ground. Uh, this was your first Hamilton's first Grey Cup title in 14 years. You're listen to these stats though. Uh, you and Grover Covington combined for 10 sacks of Matt Dunnigan and Damon Allen. You also forced 8 turnovers. That's a Grey Cup record. You recovered 2 fumbles yourself. Now, these are 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks we're talking about here, Dunnigan and Allen. And you guys making them look like a couple of Pop Warner quarterbacks in this day. What a game for you guys. Tell us about that experience.
like we kind of set it up. It was the week before. Like I said, it was the week. It was the week before. It was the second game that just put us on the right path, right? Like beating the Argos, coming from behind to beat the Argos. I don't I don't care who we were going to play. They were we were going to win.
Yeah.
Everybody was on the same page. We had a guy play in this game, a good friend of mine that hadn't played for almost a year and a half, Dave Sauve. He was a ratio buster. Like, I talked about the Canadian
Oh,
import
right.
non-import
Yeah, yeah,
ratio,
yeah. The
and he
ratio.
had not played all season. That in '86 and most part of the '85 season, and he came back from a tremendous. He had pinched a nerve. He lost nerve damage. Dave Sauve was his name, and he he came in and started that and gave us an extra American on offense. And Kerrigan just picked up where he left off. We were bombing away. He was throwing bombs. But I have to give the Edmonton, like, they really played not a bad game. For all the turnovers we created on defense, it was like 2 plays and a Paulus Balderson, another great Canadian. His rookie year kicked 5 field goals in that game, right?
Right.
So if half of those are converted to touchdowns, it would have been even a bigger blowout than it was.
Well,
So,
here's what Coach Al had
I think
to
they
say
had
after
minus
his.
yardage in the first half.
Yeah, it
They
was
had minus
unbelievable.
yards in the
Unbelievable.
first half. It was incredible.
That
Nothing's
that
ever been
offense.
done like that.
It was crazy.
No,
crazy.
We killed them.
You guys were just all over him. But this is what Coach Al had to say after that game. That was his first and only as a Grey Cup as a coach. Let's listen in.
1-5 early in the season. Everybody wrote you off. Well, 26 points down in the Eastern Final. Everybody wrote you off. And here you are, the Grey Cup champ.
Same thing. Everybody, felt the same way this week against Edmonton. But it had to be a team effort. I feel so good for the coaching staff, the players. And we forced the breaks, and we capitalized on them. And particularly our 30 and over gang. They did one hell of a job. It was a total team effort, and I just still can't believe we won the Grey Cup.
This team here tried, which the Argonauts didn't do. So I'll have to say to the players here, they're marvelous. God bless them. And I hope that they all come back next year so we can do it again.
Mr. Ballard, there was some talk that perhaps maybe you wanted to sell this team to the city of Hamilton. Still feel that way?
Not a bit, not a bit.
Okay, take a drink out of that Grey Cup. He's going to kiss the Grey Cup first. Now drink out of it, sir. Oh, I bet you that tastes great.
Yeah, Harold loved to stick it to the folks in Toronto, didn't he?
Any chance he could give it to the Argonauts, he would give it to the Argonauts. I love that guy. Oh, he was the best. Well, yeah, they refused him that he wanted to buy that franchise, right?
Right.
So
right.
He he come in. He used to come in. Him and King would come in the locker room before an Argo game in Hamilton. He goes, "You beat these sons of bitches. Dinner's on me. Bring me the receipts." All the time. It happened all the time.
Yeah. Oh, he must have just loved that win over the Arc.
Oh, he was.
God.
Oh, he was great. He was fabulous.
Yeah.
And when I would go back, remember I told you I'd go back to school?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my second year, in 1979, after that season, I had an internship to do, and I did it out of Atlanta, Georgia. Well, Atlanta had a hockey team at the time called the Flames, Atlanta Flames.
Yep. Before they moved to
Calgary,
Calgary,
you could go to that ticket for next to nothing, and you could sit anywhere you wanted in that that arena at the Omni. And I would call up Harold and I'd say, "Are you coming down? Are you and King coming?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want to go to the game?" I said, "Sure. I'm going to bring a buddy." He says, "I'm going to go to the will call. There'll be 2 tickets in your name." So I'd go down to the Omni, get the tickets, and I'd meet Harold Ballard. He'd be sitting in the stands, right at the blue line,
right
at center, right at the center, and so we always had a good time.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people who had good things to say about a lot of players that played for him, hockey players and football players. Good things to say about Harold, but a lot of fans had some pretty nasty things to say about him over the years. But you ended up going to Toronto. You ended up playing in Toronto. What prompted the move?
Well, what happened? Harold Ballard did not own the team anymore. Right, Harold Ballard sold the team. A guy named who's Dave Braley.
Yeah, David Braley.
Yeah, Dave Braley bought the team.
Yeah,
he bought the team in 88. Yeah, 1988. He was the owner. Joe Zuger was the general manager. He called me in the office and he said, here's a contract. I want you to sign this contract. And I said, I just play on last year's contract, what I made last year, and I'll play for 10% less. He said, no, this is your contract. Take it or leave it. And so the contract was for about 45% less than what I got paid the previous year.
Wow.
And I said, well, give me some time to think about it. He goes, no, you got to sign it today, sign it now, or you're not going to be here. I said, Joe, come on. He said, nope, this is it. This is a contract. You need to sign it today.
No.
But I didn't sign it, obviously.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let's give me some time to think about it, and maybe we can come up with some other number. And never happened. But that was David Braley.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened there. He made me an offer he knew I would turn down.
Yeah. You had to
And
refuse.
so
Yeah.
and so I didn't get picked up by anybody that year until they had an injury in Toronto. Their middle linebacker, I forget who it was, got hurt. I called up, I'm trying to think of the GM at the time, Leo Cahill.
Yeah.
I said, Leo, you looking for a middle linebacker? He goes, Ben, are you in shape? I said, yeah, I'm in great shape. I've been in shape. I thought I'd get picked up by the Ticats eventually, but nothing happened. So I came in, and then I played that season. I think there was an 18 game schedule, and they'd already played 8 games. So I played 10 games that year with the Argos. And we lost in the Eastern Final, which we shouldn't have. We lost to Winnipeg. But again, cheap. Like we had a wide receiver, the top receiver. We had guys that were injured, and they couldn't replace them with guys. We had the top receiver in the league injured, and they put in Danny Barrett. I think it was Danny Barrett at wide receiver, quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
Against Winnipeg, and they ended up winning the Grey Cup. Now we almost beat them, but
Are you thinking was it Terry Greer? Was it Terry Greer?
Terry Greer was gone. No, it was a different receiver.
Okay.
Terry Greer had left already.
Okay.
Gilbert Renfro was our quarterback.
Okay. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think the receiver. He had like 1,800. Like he was the top receiver in the league, and he got injured the last game of the year, and couldn't get well in the 2 weeks, and they couldn't replace him. They didn't bring anybody in. And Danny Barrett had played receiver somewhere, and they put him as the wide receiver.
Yeah.
Come on.
And backup quarterback. He could catch those own passes. That would be good. Yeah.
No, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I could guard Danny Barrett out on the wide out. Like it was we had no deep threat.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so what made you know that it was time to pack it in? How did you know it was time?
Oh, I didn't know. I wanted to keep playing. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I just was. They just said I wasn't going to get out. I wasn't going to get called back. So what happened was, I tell you what did happen. In '89, I sat out, and then in 1990, Al called me up and said, "I want you to coach special teams and get yourself in shape. You never know what might happen." I said, "Are you kidding?"
Right.
He said, "No, I'm serious." So I came back as a player coach.
Yeah.
But I never played. Even though the opportunity came up that I could play.
Yeah.
Guy got hurt, and I had been training. I'd been training very hard. Now, probably was the best thing I didn't play, but I thought I was prepared. In my mind, I was prepared to play. And I was coaching the special teams in 1990 for the Ticats. I had taken Frank North's. Again, a lot of these coaches, they all got offers from less money, right? When Harold Ballard was not the owner, all these guys were being asked to take pay cuts.
Right. Yeah.
Like I said, I remember when that first year in '88, when they offered me to take a pay cut, and I said, I don't mind taking this pay cut. Is everybody going to take a 45% pay cut?
Yeah.
I'll be
No.
happy to. If the whole team's taking a 45% pay cut, I'll take a pay cut.
Yeah.
But that
So
wasn't happening. That was
it
Braley.
was, but like as we say, all good things must come to an end, and you weren't getting the contract, and so the that career ended. But you were honored by the Ticats, the Wall of Honor. 2004, you're inducted into the CFL Hall of Fame, and of course the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. Tell us about those awards.
Well, those aren't awards you go out that you set that you want. Those aren't like goal setting awards. Those are just really it's great to be honored and acknowledged. Um, but again, there's a lot of people that have to be recognized in those kind of awards. Your family, your friends, your coaches, your teammates, and those are great. Those are really good. They're I'm very happy and very proud that I got those. But they weren't something I put on a piece of paper and say I want to be a
Hmm.
I want this. I want this as a result at an end result. It's not something that you do like that. It's something that just it happened, and it's a fan appreciation and acknowledgement, and it is a nice. I won't poo poo it. It's great that I'm recognized like that. I'm very humble about it. I don't like it's not it's a very nice award. But like I said, I was surrounded by a lot of outstanding individuals that brought out the best in me, and that's all I ever wanted to do is give everything. I just wanted to be the best I could be every time I would go out and play football. So and that and you had to prepare as well. Like I see these guys that perform on a high level, and that you can't do that just showing up. It's the other stuff, the training, the time you put in, and all that time I put in, and all the training I did paid off to those kind of awards.
Yeah, yeah, you can't get there without doing the work. No, no question. So today, you're a golf course superintendent in the city of Hamilton. Your permanent home. Tell it. How's your golf game?
It can always improve. I don't spend enough time. I spend more time on the course, manicuring it, and looking after the maintenance part than the
Right.
golf. The golf swing or the putting stroke. I do. I love the game of golf. I wish I could play more. Um, but like I said, I'm not making a living at it, so I have no complaints. I am competitive when I try to go out there. I don't and but it's a game. It's a game within a game, right? You play the course
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and yourself, not the people you're playing with. So
Right.
I just go out there and I want good contact, make a couple putts. Don't and the other my other goal, which I'm pretty good at, is I don't lose any balls.
Oh, that's
Right? If I
awesome. I wish I could do that.
so if I can finish the round with the same ball I started with, I'm super happy.
Yeah. 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 Me too. On the rare occasion when that happens. So Scotty Scheffler doesn't have to worry about you coming up behind him then,
No, oh that was unbelievable. What a round. That was yeah, that sets the tone for me. I love watching the Master. It's my home state.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I actually had an opportunity back in 78, 79 to play that course. A guy that played for Vince Dooley uh, was Dooley's first team captain. A guy named Billy Payne, and I
Right.
don't know. He was the chair. He was the chairman at Augusta at the National there at the
Oh, really?
Masters.
Okay. I think I
Yeah,
remember that name. Yeah. For
Billy
quite a few
Payne.
years.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but he was very close with Irk Russell, and Irk Russell. I got an invitation from Irk Russell to come play play the Augusta National, but I had to turn it down because I was in training camp.
In
We
the
were in training
CFL.
camp at the time.
Yep.
So
It's
in
me.
the CFL.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and
Very funny. Yeah.
unbeknownst to me at the time, being a young naive kid, I thought that invitation would be standing forever, right? You could just, hey, I have this invitation. Can I use it now? No.
Yeah. Next year, okay? Yeah. Next year. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
play next. Yeah. Well, ever like what's okay? Did you ever think about getting into the coaching? You mentioned you were
Oh,
a
of
special teams
course.
coach.
I did. I would love to coach. I would have loved to coach. Right now, I don't think right now I'm too old to coach. What I think I would be really good at um, is to finding talent
Mm,
for the Canadian
scouting.
Football League. Scouting. I would do an exceptionally good job in scouting and getting players to come to the Canadian Football League or finding talent that the whatever team would hire me. I could bring them some good talent. I could recommend good talent. I could see good talent. I could find those that I think that would be my forte if in the world of football these days. Um, yeah, because I
Finding
loved
those.
studying. I loved studying my opponent, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
whoever we were going to play against, and see the talent and see the strengths, see the weaknesses. Like I have that ability, and then talking to
Yeah.
people, and just I think I could do that. But actually sitting down X and O's,
Yeah.
I'm past that. I really am
Right.
past that.
Yeah. That's
I
and what?
tried
Yeah.
that. I tried that. I just missed out a couple times. And if you're with now, Bruno gave me the opportunity because he was in a rock and a hard spot because he had a really good coach there, Frank North, but people just can't. You have to make a living out of it, and a lot of guys, So I did try it, but again, it's a big boys club, and it's a very small club though. There's only
Yeah.
nine
Yeah.
teams,
Yeah.
and quite honestly, I can't stand bullshit. Like I can
Yeah.
see through bullshit, and I can see what's good and what's not good. And when you're a rookie, you kind of just you gotta. I couldn't keep my mouth shut, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, not in football, not when it came to winning and
Yeah.
losing and who should be playing and who shouldn't be playing,
Yeah.
you know. And so I and so you got to make cuts on teams, and you
It's
bring
hard.
guys in, right? And if you're and I just seen such bullshit.
Yeah.
It just makes your head spin. So anyway, bullshit baffles
Yeah.
brains.
Yeah. And some people make a living out of that. So
Yes, they
the
do.
final question I like to
Yeah.
ask my guests is, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Uh, from my dad, my pops. And it happened when 1980, I think it was 1981, when I got called by Forrest Gregg. He was the head coach. He'd left the Toronto Argonauts and he went down
Yeah.
and became the head coach with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
And he called me up and he said, I got a contract for you, Ben. $100,000 signing bonus and probably pretty comparable for an annual salary. Same thing.
Right.
And I'll give you a 3-year contract. So I called my dad up and I asked my dad, I said, what do you think? I got a chance to go to play for Cincinnati Bengals. Forrest Gregg called me up and I told him what the numbers were, and he was quiet. And they said, well, let me tell you what. He said, you do what you want to do, Ben. That's your choice. But this is what you should think about. Right now, you're a big fish in a small pond. And if you go to the NFL, you're going to be a small fish in a big pond. And they're going to take shots at you because you're a big fish in this small pond up here. You're going to have to reprove yourself all over again. He said, you got a pretty good name happening in Hamilton. So just consider those things. So I considered that, and that's when I made my decision to make Hamilton my home and stay in Canada.
Yeah. And you're pleased with that decision?
Yeah, I am. And I've made Hamilton my home. So it's been really good. I've been very happy. And besides, Cincinnati's not that great a place to live.
Yeah.
Have you ever driven through there?
Yeah, I've been
The
around
best thing
Cincinnati.
that came out of the best thing that came out of Cincinnati is I-75.
Yeah. It's thank you for visiting. Bye-bye. Yeah. So listen, thanks so much for taking this time, Ben. It's been great having you on, and I really enjoyed this.
It's been great, Joe. Thanks. Great. Hey, those films. I don't know where you got those films. Those are fantastic.
Our pal,
you're really
Paul,
connected.
our pal Paul Pasco is digging up some good stuff for us. So yeah, he always does
Yeah,
that.
those are vintage. Those are classic.
Yeah.
I've never seen those. I've never seen those vintage.
Yeah.
That's the first I've seen of those.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm glad we were able to show it to you. And thank you so much for all you do, buddy. It's been great. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate your time. Thanks for having me on.
All right. More when we
And
come
if you
back.
want to play around, if you're in Hamilton, you want to play some golf, let me know.
Oh, yeah. Done deal.
Yeah? Okay, we'll set it up with Tommy Gunn. And Vic, if you swing the club, it'll make a foursome.
Sounds good. All right. Yeah, we'll get Tommy for sure. And Vic, I don't know if you do you play at all, Vic?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh,
Vic
perfect.
He's in. All right.
All right. You bring Vic and I'll bring Tommy.
Sounds good, man. It's a foursome.
Call me up if you're in Ham. Serious. Come down. We'll play. We'll play around.
Oh, it's happening. No doubt about it, man.
We got 3 courses we can play from here. We can play King's Forest, or we can play at Shadok. We got the Badeau and the Martin. Now, this is the 100-year anniversary of Shadok Golf Course being city run. It used to be the Hamilton Golf and Country Club. So this is the 100-year anniversary of the Hamilton City owning and running Shadok Golf Course.
Oh boy, that's good. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. It's gonna be good.
It'll be awesome.
Thank you, Ben. We'll get more when we come back.
Rely on Walton Restoration's 40-plus years of excellence in residential and commercial restoration. Their strong reputation is built on workmanship, professionalism, and outstanding customer service. Trust Walton as your dependable partner in emergencies, serving Durham, Kawartha, and Northumberland regions. Call 905-725-5666 or visit waltonrestoration.com. Experience top-tier workmanship and service. Walton Restoration, the trusted name in property restoration. Join satisfied customers like me. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca.
When you're injured in an accident, you may be entitled to multiple benefits. Entitlement to these benefits are based on your insurance policy. On a basic policy, you will have eligibility for income replacement benefit, non-earner benefit, attendant care, and medical rehabilitation benefits. It is very important to have a detailed discussion with your insurance broker or agent when obtaining a new policy or renewing your existing policy. Call us now for a comprehensive review of your claim and your policy limits. You do not pay us until we settle your case.
Call Nathan today at 416-289-1236 or visit alliedlegal.ca.
And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great folks. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of local and Canadian sports. A reminder, the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network, Zingo TV, and Buzz TV Live. Also, check out the show on YouTube. It's lots of shows are there, all our past shows, some shorts. Like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. All right. Thanks once again to Ben Zambiasi for being on the program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today, and let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit sleepyhollowcountryclub.com. Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Another must-do experience is a luxurious cruise down the Nile River. The ship was elegantly furnished with premium facilities, including a spacious lounge and a swimming pool. The cabins were comfortable, well-appointed, offering panoramic views of the Nile River and the surrounding landscape. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top-of-the-line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com.